Good morning, everyone. I'm your co-host, Ari Jesselson.
I'm your co-host Joshua Ament, and let's not discriminate. If you're watching this in the afternoon or evening, that's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, and today we have a special guest. We have former Raiders and Dolphins linebacker, Jack Squirek. Mr. Squirek, how are you?
Good, good. Just I'm living in Cleveland, Ohio, so I'm dealing a little bit with the weather. A lot of snow, a lot of cold weather, but otherwise, I'm fine.
Yeah, hey, we're in the same crowd as you. New York is getting a lot of snow. I just finished cleaning my cars, and it was a lot. So,
It's just, I'm sorry. Growing up in Cleveland, it's kind of something you expect. You just, hope you can get away to Florida or someplace warm for a couple of weeks to kind of break up the monotony of the weather. So hopefully that'll be happening pretty soon. But otherwise, like I said, I grew up here, so I kind of expect to know what I'm getting into with the weather.
yeah. Hey, at least you got the Browns, Can't complain about them. Hey, I'm a loyal dog, so. So just for the fans at home, can you give us a little description about yourself as a player, as a person?
Well, I grew up like I said, I grew up in the Cleveland area, so I grew up a big Cleveland Browns fan. Growing up, in high school, I played football, I ran track, I played basketball, so I was kind of an all-around athlete, but I kind of gravitated toward football because it seemed like that was my best sport, the one I was most successful with, and also, it was a physical sport, and I kind of enjoyed the physicality of playing football, so I kind of gravitated toward football, and I excelled in it, and things from there, I went to college and really enjoyed playing.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot that goes into a sport. It's like every career, every passion. So how did you get inspired to play, and how do you keep that inspiration?
Well, I think like I said, if you kind of excel at something, you kind of like it, you're willing to put in a lot of work. Some people are gifted in different areas. I think I kind of had that gift. I always, with football, I was great. I could catch the ball. I was a good receiver in high school, and I worked hard at it. I'm not going to say, I didn't. I put a lot of time in with lifting weights and working hard at it. But I think it's when you enjoy doing it, when you're good at something, you kind of enjoy it. You don't mind the work. You work hard at it because you see the fruits of the labor. And, since I enjoyed football and excelled at it, I put a lot of hard work into it, but it seemed like it came naturally to me.
And
No, go ahead. I keep doing this every episode, so.
That's fine. I mean, you've had yourself a pretty long career. Faced a lot against a lot of different guys. Who would you say might be the scariest player you've ever had to line up against?
Probably, I would have to say like Earl Campbell, but luckily I wasn't playing in that game because, and I think a lot of people would say, a lot of former players that, he's just a big running back, and he had a lot of power, and he had good speed, and he was somebody that, like I said, luckily in that game with the Raiders played the Houston Oilers, and I was playing mainly on special teams, so I didn't have to face him. But I would say that's a player that I put fear in a lot of players' hearts.
Oh yeah, hey, thighs of the tree stump. But obviously, you had that amazing interception in the Super Bowl against the Redskins. Now the football team, it's ranked top 10, top 15 by a lot of websites. So, what were your thoughts during that play, or is it a blur as of now?
Well, we put the Washington Redskins, when we played them in the Super Bowl, they had scored the most points in NFL history up to that point. So not only were they a great team, a great playoff team, but they also were an explosive, powerful team. And we had played them early in the season. We didn't have Mike Haynes, our Hall of Fame cornerback, and I think Marcus Allen was out that game. So, you know, when we played them early in the season, they beat us by about 3 points. But playing them in the Super Bowl, we knew they were a great team, and we knew we'd have to play hard to win that game. And that's what we did. We went out and we got up on them early. And as I said, early in the season, we played them, and they ran a play right before halftime where they threw a screen pass to one of their scat bats, Joe Washington. And because of poor tackling, he gained about 70 yards, and they kicked a field goal right before half. So we kind of had an inkling that they might try that same play before half. And our defensive coordinator, Charlie Sumner, put me in the game specifically to go man-to-man against Joe Washington. And he basically told me, Jack, we're going to have everybody in the prevent zone. There were 12 seconds left in the half, and they were on their 12-yard line. And basically, I had Joe Washington man-to-man, and I saw Theismann, backpedal. I was covering the running back, and I just happened to see the ball being released, and I made a good break on the ball and caught it. It was in the end zone within a second, and it's probably the biggest throw of my lifetime because, you know, being a linebacker, we don't get to score touchdowns that often, and it's just, like I said, just the fact that we won the game and I made a big play and contributed like that. It was, like I said, a thrill of a lifetime.
In the moment, did you realize it would be so fawned over and so historical? And also, how does it feel to have a top Super Bowl play?
Well, I never thought that, I knew it was a big play, and, I didn't think it would be remembered. If you asked me back then, I think it'd be remembered, 30 years later, I probably would have said no. But I think that the fact that, obviously we had a lot of great players on that team. I feel blessed just to be on the team that I was on. We had a lot of Hall of Famers, all pros. And I think just the fact that the play was right before halftime, I think that made it a big deal. I think that made it more historical because we scored a touchdown right before half, and it kind of took a little wind out of their sails. And so I think that's what made it more historical. But really, I never thought it would be remembered this long afterwards. I always knew it was a big play, but never thought it'd be remembered like that.
Obviously, you did have a long career. You were playing since high school, and your final season was in 1986. So when did you come to terms that you were done with professional football?
Well, I think, it's never, you never feel like you're finished with it, because I think when you play that long, it becomes part of your life, but you always want to play at a good level. And I don't think I had some injuries and I wasn't playing at 100%. So I realized, hey, if I can't play at 100% and help my team, then I don't want to play anymore. So I think it was a combination of just realizing you have some injuries and you're not contributing like you can, and you just decide to retire. So, and the fact that, I was fortunate. I mean, a lot of guys play a long time and never get a Super Bowl ring. I was blessed to get that ring, to be on a great team and to get that ring. So that made it all worthwhile.
And of course, with such a physically demanding sport like football, it is bound to take its toll on anyone. So I guess two things. Number one is sort of how are you doing physically nowadays? And second of all, do you think that the game today is too physical?
No, I think nowadays they've done a lot of things to improve on it. Like you can't use your head to lead with the tackle. So that's good. They hit a lot less in training camp, which is good. And they're looking out more for player safety. I'm not saying when I played they didn't, but I think we've learned a lot over the years. We were kind of like the guinea pig. I mean, our players and the players before us, we've learned a lot that head injuries, how serious they are. So I think, we kind of paved the way for the players nowadays. They, they can play, it's a dangerous game, but it's always going to be that way, but it's a lot more safe nowadays. As far as myself with injuries, some lower back pain, just aches and pains, but that probably comes with age. I did have a pretty bad fractured jaw, so I do get vertigo every now and then. But besides that, knock on wood, I can't complain right now.
And it's good to hear, especially in such a physical sport, in a physical position. Obviously, there are a lot of players modern days that get their inspiration from the older guys, but you never really see it vice versa. So are there any players today who remind you of yourself?
I never really looked at it that way. I mean, there's a lot of good. I never really. I mean, I'm not categorize myself as a great linebacker. I think the thing I did well is I ran around, made plays, and made a lot of tackles. I can't really think of anybody, but like I said, I really don't watch the game like I used to. I pretty much just watch it in enjoyment, looking at the game as I don't really watch linebackers or running backs. I kind of just watch the game just to enjoy it. So I don't really look at it that intently to really make any comparisons.
Yeah, again, it's always hard to make comparisons across generations, especially when, of course, the game has changed a lot from what it was like in the 80s. Of course, it's a much more offensively driven game now. So I guess, what do you really have to say to that coming from the standpoint of a linebacker? And if you were sort of the age where you'd be playing now, would you still want to play defense as badly as you did?
Yeah, I think honestly, in high school, I played offense. I was a tight end, and it's more of a glamour position because you're catching the ball and scoring touchdowns, things like that. I remember my coach in college coming up to me because I played tight end in college. When I first went to Illinois, the coach said, back then they used double tights, but not that often. So we basically had one tight end. He told me, Jack, there's one tight end on offense that starts, and there's 4 linebackers on defense that start. And he told me basically, you have a better chance of playing sooner if you go to defense and play linebacker. So that pretty much made my decision for me. I wanted to play soon, so I switched to linebacker, and I don't have any regrets about it. I mean, I had a decent career, and I can't complain overall. Like I said, got the Super Bowl ring, got the championship, and that's what it's all about in the long term.
Yeah. And the Raiders, the silver and black, obviously are known for the reputation, especially back then. So what was the culture in the locker room like in the Raiders?
Well, when I first went to the Raiders, when I first got drafted, I remember thinking to myself, because, the Raiders had that image back then, especially as being very physical and borderline dirty players. And I thought, wow, I don't know if I really fit in that mode, with the Raiders. I don't know if I'm that nasty player who can elbow somebody, a running back at the bottom of the pile. But when I first got drafted, and then I went to mini camps and a training camp, and I met most of the guys, and I realized they're normal players like me. We had a couple of guys that were intimidators, but that was their role. So, I realized that most of the guys on the team were great guys, and I fit in well with them. And they said, "Hey, Jack, just do what you do best and help us win. We don't care how it's done." So I kind of got to enjoy the reputation, because whenever we play other teams, we're always known as the intimidators. And I think in the end, it kind of helped us, because if we were playing like the Cleveland Browns or Steelers, when we'd run out in the field before the game, we always got booed. And I think that gave our team a sense of closeness, that it was us against the world. And I think it gave us a little bit of an edge in the long run. So I think that that image of the Raiders I think it was more of a psychological advantage. I think Mr. Davis knew that. He kind of perpetuated it more.
So you were in the Raiders for a while now, and obviously they're known for two things. Apparently, their big reputation, and they're moving a lot. Obviously, they moved from Oakland to LA, back to Oakland, and now they're going to Vegas. So what are your thoughts on the Vegas move?
Well, I feel bad for the Oakland fans, because they're the Oakland fans. I never got a chance to play in Oakland, because in 1982 I got drafted by the Oakland Raiders, and we practiced in Oakland and flew to Los Angeles, because they made the move to Los Angeles that year. But I got to meet a lot of the Oakland fans, and I realized that they're really hardcore fans, and they really had a lot of passion for the Oakland Raiders. So I felt kind of bad in a sense. Like I said, we played all our home games in Los Angeles. I knew that Mr. Davis, our owner, he did it because he wanted a great team. And I think, I think that he realized that for the Raiders to be great, we're eventually going to get into free agency. And he knew that he had to have the team make more income somehow. So he realized, if Oakland doesn't build a new stadium, I'm going to have to move to Los Angeles, because there's more income potential there. And like I said, I feel bad for the Oakland fans. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, for the Raiders to succeed in the future, they're going to have to get as much revenue income as possible. And I think, Las Vegas has the most potential, unfortunately. I mean, the stadium they build is state of the art. It's probably the best, arguably the best stadium in the NFL now. And, I think when you're trying to attract free agency, obviously money's the most important. But I think the stadium and the facilities going to be second. And I think with the Raiders being in Las Vegas, I think that's really going to help them in the future as far as winning with free agency.
As far as sorry for going back a couple of questions. Of course, you were mentioning before about sort of the culture in the Raiders locker room. Do you have sort of any specific locker room stories you want to share?
Actually, the funniest story I think I've heard was the one about John Madden. We had a PR guy named Mike Ornstein, and we're sitting around at a pregame meal right before a game, and he was telling us, he goes, "Yeah, the biggest mistake," he goes, "I really screwed up." He goes, "A couple of years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life." And we were like, "Well, what was the biggest mistake of your life?" He goes, "Well, guys," he said, "back in 1979 or 80, I think it was," he goes, "John Madden was retired from football." And he said, he came up to me and he said, "Mike, obviously, I just retired as coach of the Oakland Raiders. But," he said, "I'm thinking of getting into broadcasting." And Mike said, "I looked at John Madden." He goes, John Madden said, "Would you like to represent me?" He said, "I looked at John Madden and he had spaghetti sauce on his face." And he said, no, John, I think I'll pass. So that's probably the funniest story. He said, biggest mistake of my life.
And who was to think that John Madden would have such a big career in the broadcasting booth and all that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's with the video games and everything. And, I think he just related to the fans so well, the typical football fan that, that's how they view football. And John Madden was just a natural broadcaster. And people just enjoyed how he explained the game. And, he'd explain it to the regular street person, but basically how football is played and, how, people, how coaches break down film and things like that. Just ordinary things that the average fan wouldn't know. He kind of delved into that.
He helped make it easier for everyone to get the game, which you can't take away from him. Is there any advice you would give to kids if they want to pursue a professional football career?
Well, like I said, I think you have to be passionate about something to succeed, whether it be in broadcasting, playing professional sports, being a teacher, and anything you do, you got to be passionate about it. But, you also, want to make sure that you're kind of gifted in that area. You want to make sure you have some abilities in that area. And if you do find out that you're kind of gifted, you have a knack for something, then you pursue it and you work really hard at it. And usually hard work makes you, they say you're more lucky when you work hard. And I think that's true.
Just a couple more questions. Just if you could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would that be?
I think I would enjoy the game more, enjoy the moment. When we won the Super Bowl in 1984, I thought we're going to be here about 3 more times. I thought we were going to win, another, either go or win to the Super Bowl. I thought we would be there a couple more times. That wasn't the case. So I would enjoy that moment of just basking in the glory of winning the Super Bowl and appreciating it, because I think once you win the Super Bowl, the next question somebody asks you is, you're gonna go next year, right? You're gonna go again. You're gonna get that second ring, and sometimes you got to say to yourself, "Hey, I won the Super Bowl. I'm gonna enjoy this moment for several months and realize, hey, I'm the world champs, and I'm gonna enjoy this moment. And I'll worry about the next Super Bowl when training camp starts." So that's probably the biggest advice I would give, is to enjoy that moment.
It's always good to smell the roses once in the blue,
Yeah, that's for sure.
How could fans at home or just people who are interested in you, how are they able to see what you're doing or reach out to you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. So, if you want to contact me, can be contacted through Facebook. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me, I would say.
And you also have a Cameo, right?
Yes, I have a Cameo. So if somebody has a birthday or a father that's, a big Raider fan, and you want to send a little gift out to them, I'm available on Cameo for that, birthdays, Christmas, things like that.
Facebook and Cameo will be in the description of the Instagram, Twitter, and all of the video sites. So just want to get that out. And if you don't have it on you, that's fine. Is there any way we could see the ring?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there any way we could see the ring?
The ring. Sorry, I don't have it with me now.
Oh, it's all good. It's fine. All right, so Mr. Squirek, I would like to thank you for your time and thank you for everything. And thank you.
Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Hey, you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.